The other thing with showering, particularly with people with dementia or those with balance problems, is something called a swivel bather. This comes in two parts. And there's the seat. So if somebody's got dementia or somebody's fear of falling backwards, this type of shower board is quite good. And it's called a swivel bather, and the person can sit on the swivel bather. The same thing, there's a little ratchet here that you lift up. They need to lift their legs up and over the bath. And again, here they stay. This locks into position. Sometimes that's very useful for a carer in that the person has got something to hold on to, they've got a back, and they can shower them or sloosh them down as necessary. Often people who need to wash in running water, people of different faiths, this kind of thing, or the bath board is very useful. Or sometimes what people do is they use a bath seat and they use a bucket. The difficulty sometimes with this is that you need to consider, particularly with gentlemen, about any entrapment of their undercarriage really. So you do need to warn them that is a possibility. The seat itself has got diamonds shapes and they're fairly small, so you shouldn't have any problems. But you may come across a piece of equipment that's got bigger holes, and you will need to consider entrapment in that respect. Obviously, there are regulations now, but there is some old equipment that you might come across that might need to be changed. Again, you need to consider about storing the equipment if somebody in the family is going to use the bath as well. So where should this go? What's the safest place for it to be? So we were talking about plastic or acrylic baths and metal baths. Mainly the equipment that we use is suitable for metal and plastic baths, apart from this type of seat. And this is the old style paddle bath seat, and most of the equipment that I've shown you actually pushes down on the bath. This piece of equipment pushes out towards the side, so it's not to be used for acrylic baths. It's very useful when you've got an old-fashioned cast iron bath with very limited room at the bottom. Something like this is ideal, and it sits in the bath and it pushes at the sides. An acrylic bath could break, so you wouldn't issue it for that. Also, I think you need to be aware that in some instances, if somebody's had their bath in for many, many years, some acrylic baths do show sign of wear, and you will need to consider whether or not your piece of equipment that you're going to issue is actually going to make the bath worse. Because people are generally nice, but as soon as something goes wrong, we do slip into an American culture, and people do head for a pot of money. So you do need to consider, you do need to look and see whether or not the bath is in a good condition. I'm talking here about equipment for occupational therapy. Obviously there is, when we've been talking about people that are able and cognitively able to get in and out of the bath. Obviously there is equipment around in relation to telecare equipment that would, if people run a bath and it floods and things like that, there's all that kind of equipment available, but that's not for the purpose of this video. But would be good for you, and it's a good thing to do, is to know what equipment is out there. Okay, so that's the end of the video. This is part of, as I said before, a two-part training. You will be given a test on what we have spoken about in the video, and also just to get you an idea of your clinical decision making and your clinical reasoning. The next step will be a practical session where we will actually see how you can fit the equipment, and sometimes talk to us about your problem solving and your reasoning behind things. Having said all that, obviously the most important thing is that the client is safe. And you must remember that this is a negotiation with the client. You need to have them involved every step of the way. They are responsible for their own safety, and you're coming in a small snapshot of their life to actually see whether or not you can enable them to live a bit more independently. So it's about a discussion with them, explaining them, giving them the information that they need. We talked about whether it's essential need and whether it's desirable need. Again, an essential need would be something that we would provide. A desirable need may well be something that they might have to purchase privately. But again, we can give them information. It's about giving people choice. So I'm hoping your next session, your practical session, will enable you to feel capable and confident in actually prescribing equipment for the Adult Community Occupational Therapy Service in Croydon.